What it do, Bing Crew? It's your boy Savon Thomas, back with another episode of Coffee and Comment. And today we're going to review the movie Elvis.
You ain't nothing but a dog player. I get it.
I wish to promote you, Mr. Presley. Tomorrow, all of America will be talking about my war.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog.
Who the hell is that?
Crying all the time.
Elvis Presley.
You ain't nothing but a...
You don't do the business will do you.
I'm gonna do what I want to do. Sing the music that I want.
dog player. I get it.
Welcome back. This again is a review of the movie Elvis. It's directed by Baz Luhrmann, which if you're not familiar with Baz, I thought I wasn't. But he's created two movies that for me I've seen. One is Romeo and Juliet. Old movie back in the day. I actually had to watch that after a class. Maybe it was theater class. I don't remember when I watched it. But Romeo and Juliet. And then also he did The Great Gatsby. So two Leonardo DiCaprio films. He filmed those. And then now he's come out with Elvis. This movie stars Austin Butler, who I wasn't really familiar with. Looking up his filmography, it looks like mostly he's been on like Nickelodeon shows and Disney stuff. But then also he was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well. So I do recognize him from that. But this is really like his, I would say, breakout role, honestly. Then you have the legendary Tom Hanks, which he's been getting a lot of flack for this character. A lot of people didn't like Tom Hanks in this movie, which is funny. I never thought Tom Hanks would receive flack, at least for acting. Not everything else, there's some stuff going on outside of that, but for acting, I didn't think he would. But Tom Hanks is in this movie. Obviously, you guys know Tom Hanks. Forrest Gump, Woody, all this other stuff. And then you also have another character. Those are the main two in this movie. But then you also have Olivia DeJonge, who plays Priscilla, Elvis's wife. And she's kind of a newer actress. She was in a show called The Society. I actually watched that. It was one season, and they canceled it. But she was in that. And I remember watching this movie, and I'm like, man, where do I recognize this girl from? Because I've seen her. And I did a review on The Society as well. And it was just, I was like, I know this girl. I've seen her in something, but I can't remember what it was. And it was that, right? And so those are the main three actors, actresses in the movie. Everybody else kind of just plays a side character. You have people that play Elvis's dad, stuff like that, his mom. But for the most part, it focuses on Austin Butler and Tom Hanks and that relationship of the characters. Austin Butler plays Elvis. Tom Hanks plays the Snowman. That's what he calls himself. I think it's like Colonel Rogers or Colonel something. It's not Colonel Sanders. But he plays his manager, right? And that's really the dynamic of the movie. Is the manager, Tom Hanks' character, discovering quote unquote Elvis, but it shows Elvis's total story, and also how this guy really screws Elvis in the long run, right? For me, I am a Elvis casual. Like, I don't know much about Elvis. I know some songs. I've seen maybe a movie or two. I remember seeing a movie. I can't, say which movie I've seen, but I remember seeing a movie from Elvis. I knew he was an actor. I knew he had a lot of hit songs, obviously. I also knew that he stole a lot of songs, too. And that's what I was interested to see, is how they depicted Elvis in this movie. For me, going into it, I was like, how are they going to depict Elvis? Will he be this great white savior that did no wrong, or would he be actually depicted accurately when they show the influence that the black community had on him? And they did heavily.
Are you born with destiny, or does it just come knocking at your door?
He's a young singer from Memphis, Tennessee. Give him a warm hayride welcome, Mr. Elvis Presley.
I did not expect him to do it as much as they did, though, which was, for me, phenomenal. Like, I loved that aspect. Like, it harped so much on his upbringing in Mississippi and how he was influenced by both gospel and R&B. It shows how he was just in the culture. He was part of the black culture. Like, he got influenced, the way he moved, the way he sang, his rhythms, like how he did certain things was heavily influenced by the black community. And even showcased in a movie, it shows it differently. It shows it him covering songs versus like stealing songs. So I don't know if they want to like kind of give a good picture to how he got some of these songs, but he hears people singing songs and then kind of like he's giving these songs to sing. That's kind of how they depicted it in the movie. But anyways, so it tells the entire story of Elvis, and I learned a lot. So for me, again, I'm an Elvis casual, so I learned a lot about Elvis's trajectory, right? I thought he was always this pinnacle of music and never like fell, and apparently there was a time where he was on top of the world. He was, you know, doing his acting, doing his films. It was after he came back from the war, started doing films, and in that, you know, he was not Elvis that I know, and he revamped his career with having a Vegas residency. And this is going to sound a lot stupid to a lot of people, especially a lot of people that love Elvis, but I did not know that he had a Vegas residency. I knew that he was very famous in Vegas. I thought Vegas just loved him because they have like the Elvis where you can get married by Elvis, quote unquote, like, which is it's not the real Elvis, clearly. But I thought Vegas just loved him. Like, I'm like, man, people in Vegas just love Elvis. I did not know that he's at one of the longest residencies in Vegas history, right? So that was interesting to find out as well. It's a very enjoyable movie. The way Baz films it is very fast paced. Like the first 20 minutes, I was like, man, we've covered a lot. Like I literally was like, bro, we covered a lot in this first 20 minutes because everything's just moving. There's scenes, there's shots, everything's kind of moving together and flowing, and like it's just so much going on where it just grabs your attention right out of the gate. Like you're not sitting there being bored. Like it is a very long movie, but you're not sitting there, at least in the beginning, not being bored. Towards the end though, at least when I watched it, I was a little tired because I got a 10:15 showing, and it's a 2-hour film, 2-hour and 40-minute film. So for me, you know, being at the theater at 12:30 at night, I'm like, dang, this movie is a little bit long. But maybe if I watched it, you know, somewhat different time frame, maybe I probably would have enjoyed it more as far as the length of time. But I would say this is probably like 30 to 40 minutes too long, a little bit too long. That's my only critique of the movie, is that I would have made it a little bit shorter. Other than that, I loved it, right? I really enjoyed it. A lot of people have been giving like backlash to the movie. They don't like Tom Hanks. They don't like that they didn't press in some in other areas. They kind of feel like they just covered a little bit with the movie. No, for me, I really enjoyed this movie. I felt like it was done well. Austin Butler did a great job depicting Elvis. He crushed the role, right? I feel like I was watching Elvis on screen, but Austin Butler does a great job. I enjoyed this a lot. And so I gave this movie an 8.4 out of 10. That's my rating. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Coffee and Comments.
Nothing to lose, I was starving from the start. Me, not the same cat driving Jaguar.